Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us.
Okay.
All right, hello and welcome, guests. This is episode 36, I believe. We have a longtime co-host, Mr. 𝗬𝒂𝒂𝒧𝒧 today. I'm your host, Connor Shank, and we're excited to bring you another episode of the Constant Sports podcast. And today we're really just going to kind of dive into the sports world, do some recaps on the NFL season, maybe the combine. Arguably, the worst trade in NFL history went down 2 years ago and kind of came to a conclusion today, which we will talk about a little bit. We'll talk about some MLB, March Madness, things like that. So, Sal, why don't you get us started? What have you been up to these days? What's your world looking like?
Yeah, no, appreciate you having me on, Connor. I always love joining the platform. You do such a great job at giving everyone insights into the sports industry and kind of the current news that's been going on. So, always glad to join the show and kind of dive in with you. So, just business as usual, busy season. So, working away, the sports industry never stops. It's always new, fresh content coming or news popping out. So just trying to
Yes.
keep up with everything and growing.
Yeah, of course. And for the viewers or listeners who maybe aren't familiar with your work, where are you at? What are you doing for the first time viewers? A little insight on kind of your day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do just a quick overview since I know if people have listened, I've been on
Of course.
and I've definitely explained what I've done. But working in the high school marketing industry, specifically with Teal Properties Group, I'm located out here in the North Carolina region. So doing a lot of work there, specifically kind of facilitating building out all our contracts, helping with the sales operation side of it, as well as the fulfillment of our sponsorship agreement. So kind of the partnership services side, specifically kind of the activation. So a little bit of everything is kind of how I like to do things.
Yep, just how we like it. And speaking of a
Yeah.
little bit of everything, we ran a poll today on some of our social channels and whatnot. And the poll was, for those who didn't see it, it was which professional sports league do you believe will face the most disruption in the next decade? So this is kind of topic one we're going to go over. So once again, which professional sports league do you believe will face the most disruption in the next decade? And the poll broke down as such: 48%. We had over 100 respondents, so 48% was MLB, then 24 was NFL, 18 was NBA, and then 9% was other leagues, obviously rugby, WNBA, things of that nature. So that's kind of there. Sal, what do you think? The MLB is the high there. I mean, it's a little higher than I thought as far as the disparity,
Really?
48%
Ye-
there.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Very not shocked on the results, to be honest. Definitely could see MLB being that, as they've already kind of are facing a lot of disruption. And MLB is the pastime sport of America. A lot of fans are over the age of a specific number of older gentlemen, just because
Hmm.
it's been such an old sport. So MLB baseball is rooted in history, and it's been a sport that has not adapted as well or has been open to adapting as the other sports. So to be able to stay with the market and keep up within the sports industry, it's going to face challenges and it's going to have to come to the reality that there changes will be made. And they are. Last year was a big year for the MLB and making changes and seeing the results of that. But I only think it's the beginning for the MLB. I will tell you where I'm shocked on this poll result is that the NBA was lower than the NFL.
Hmm.
I think the NFL is king right now, as you can tell with its TV results and how it just continues to grow. So right now, I think the NFL is in a great spot, and I'm obviously all sports leagues deal with disruption and have to be able to adapt. But I feel like the NBA is going to be more facing issues than the NFL, specifically the All-Star game and kind of how the league is player driven, which is great. But to keep the audience intrigued with the sport, I think there's going to be disruption in the NBA.
Yeah, of course. And just touching on the MLB aspect there, I just
Yeah,
was looking up some different sites on market side, and the MLB released some polls, but it says their average fan is 43 years old, with
there
ticket
we go.
buyers and things like that, and those watching at home. So I think they tried a little bit to with the pitch clock last year, try to shrink the game time down. But,
Right.
I'm a big baseball fan here. I mean, 182 games is a good amount, I will say. It's a good amount of games. I mean, as a Padres fan here, I guess I can't call myself a diehard if I don't watch all 182 games, but I'll watch the first month and a half. And then, once it's like April, May, it just fade like you turn up in July and then I'm dialed in. So I think that's kind of one of their biggest issues, and I'm not sure how they're going to combat that. And a few players have come out. I know the Anthony Rendon came out and said like we got too many games, and a few other people have come out, but obviously their biggest, I guess, problem would be the potential loss of regional broadcasting revenues and whatnot with Valley Sports and all that. So that'll hurt them even more. But I'm sure the big dogs over there will figure it out eventually.
No doubt about that. And obviously, I mean, the season hasn't even begun, and I'm gonna just say it as it is
Here
because
it
it's
comes.
been, which is wild to me. I'm surprised we've been about to have this conversation, and people in the industry know where I'm going with this. Is the uniforms for the MLB
Yeah,
have been the biggest storyline. I've never
they
seen
have.
anything like it, Connor.
Mm.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
what, I mean, this is the professional baseball league. Like this is premier. And we can't even get the uniforms right.
no,
I don't know what we're doing here.
well, see, if you put on, maybe I forget what the marketing tactic is, but it's basically bad publicity is good publicity. What if they just
Well,
it's just a marketing ploy, and they're like, here, give us the jerseys. We're gonna put out this horrendous product. Everyone's gonna be talking about it. Our numbers are gonna go through the roof because now everyone's talking about the jerseys. Everyone's taking pictures. They're posting online. I mean, Fanatics and MLB jerseys is one of the hot topics right now. So that never gets lost on me is like, is this some sort of marketing ploy? Are we being played? Something to think about. I mean, maybe I'm too in the weeds
no.
here, but that's kind of the first thing I thought was because they're too bad to like. There's no way that was the final product in my opinion.
Right. I'll tell you which one got me was the MLB player for Seattle, the Mariners, I believe, posted the photo, tagged the Fanatics, hey, jersey's a little messed up, and the Fanatics account goes, hey, let us know where to send a proper jersey update. Well, you're responding to an MLB player,
Yeah,
not just some random
to my
fan.
locker.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was real good. So, but no, obviously never overlook. There's not afraid to have bad publicity because it gets publicity on your company. But I don't know that's wild to me. But overall, I think with the MLB having one of the best All-Star games,
Mhm.
they'll make it through. But I do believe they will have the most disruption to deal with. I believe like I was detailing earlier, the NBA second and then NFL third, and from there I kind of other with 9% coming in on the poll it is not surprising one bit to me.
Yeah, well, and it is interesting. We ran a poll a few weeks ago about who had the best All-Star game, and it was actually the MLB people voted on having the best All-Star game,
Yeah,
which I mean that makes sense because it's the most like the game of any sport, bar none, because they're actually
correct.
playing the game. Um,
Yeah,
so there's that. And I don't know any last words on there before we dive into the NFL here.
no, I'm good. What a turnout! You can always
Yeah.
see the audience and group of people you're impacting. So great to see that number of people that voted on the polls
Oh yeah,
just
no, it was
increasing
good.
every week.
Yeah, no, we love it. We love the fan engagement, getting people
Yes.
involved. And speaking of fan engagement, we're gonna do a little special episode here where Sal, as a lifelong Broncos fan, he is going to be a mock GM for us and kind of break down maybe some of his picks, what his thoughts are for the upcoming season. As the general manager, Sal just I think the team today actually released they're moving on from quarterback Russell Wilson, and there's a lot of naysayers and critics in the weeds over here chirping that this is arguably the worst trade of all time. So, Sal, as the acting GM, kind of what are your next moves going forward for the Broncos faithful?
Yeah, no, I think Broncos country can buckle right up. This one is gonna be wild. As you detailed earlier, just released Russell Wilson will be released next week. It'll be an $85 million cap hit spread over 2 years, depending on how it works out, and obviously depending on what number he signs with another team. All accounts is that he's projected to take the league minimum, make sure the Broncos pay his full salary, so that we don't get any cap relief there. But we'll see what happens. Next moves, you probably have to draft a quarterback, to be
Okay.
honest with you, just because, yeah, the market for quarterback price wise, you just won't really have the salary cap. What I would do, and this is going to be a shock to people because first instinct is, hey, trade up, get the best quarterback you can, get to the highest draft position you can. You don't have the assets to do that.
Right.
What I would do is I would trade down. I'd get more draft capital, get later first round, and then I'm either taking Michael Penix Jr. or I'm taking Bo Nix. The
How
best,
far do you think they're dropping down?
I think, late first round, and then
You
you
think
take which
they're
one's available.
three, four? Because you're probably going Williams would probably go somewhere in there. Drake May's been kind of
Yep,
hyping up the boards, but yeah, you
Jaden
probably get
Daniels.
yeah, Jaden Daniels. You probably get maybe the fourth or fifth best QB in the first round, maybe third.
And that's what people are thinking. In my opinion, Michael Penix spun the ball the best.
He did.
Obviously, at the combine. Let me make that clear for everybody. There's not a better thrower of the football in this draft than Michael Penix. Just the way, the spin of the ball, the placement, and you saw it, and everyone's already talking about. Tell me the best game a quarterback played this college football season. What would be yours?
Best game of college? I mean, really any game. I mean, any game Penix played against the Ducks, he torched them.
Sorry, Callan.
Yeah, Mr. Coleman. Sorry about that.
And this is all quarterbacks in all games. Who had the best performance at the quarterback position?
I would say Penix, either game two, Oregon, or Texas. Yeah, Texas.
That's what I was about to say. Penix versus Texas was the best game by a quarterback this year. So you're saying that you're telling me I could get him late first round, trade back, and get more draft capital? I think that's the way they go. Now, if he gets taken, you take that risk, and everyone's been saying Bo Nix fits perfectly into Sean Payton's offense.
Interesting.
I don't know if I necessarily fully agree with that, but I still think it's worth taking one of those two versus then trading up and getting one of the big names.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then what do you guys are? What are you, 12 or 13? Depending if you
We're
stay where
12.
you're at, you're 12.
Yep, you're 12. If you
And
stay
then
where you are,
yeah,
I think you take a lineman, offensive lineman, or a cornerback, and then you take a quarterback if in the third, fourth round, and the quarterback I would eye in that place would be Spencer Rattler, South Carolina.
no, I've been hearing there
Yeah.
have been a lot of reports coming out, especially out of the Senior Bowl, Reese's Senior
Yes.
Bowl, that he torched it up down there. And I know he went. Where was he at? Oklahoma. He came out of high school, highly
Correct.
touted, went to Oklahoma, and
Yep. It's an
Caleb
Arizona kid
Williams.
now.
Yep, Pinnacle High School,
Yes.
The
Yes.
greater Scottsdale area.
That's correct.
Um, and yeah, I liked him at South Carolina. Played well. I think from the kind of the reports and things I read, he had a pretty banged up old line. So especially in college, that puts you behind the eight ball. You know, if you're especially in the SEC, if you don't have an offensive line and you're going against the Georgias and the Alabamas, your stats aren't going to be, where they need to be. So yeah, I think I'd like that. I'd like that move there. That'd be a sneaky. It's kind of like a Dak Prescott 4, 5, 6 years ago, whatever that was. Get
Right.
him in the mid-round quarterback, kind of beef up some of your team needs, and then get a reliable quarterback that you think you could have a future with.
No, absolutely. And I do anticipate Denver to utilize the draft to get their quarterback just because of cap wise. But like I was saying to start this whole conversation, I anticipate multiple veterans being released, multiple veterans being traded to get more draft capital. I expect the Denver Broncos to be getting a lot younger and a lot cheaper at a lot of positions, unfortunately. But with their performance the last 5 years, they're not a winning team. This is
Right.
what you got to do.
Would you call this a rebuild
And to be
year?
on, potentially, yes, for sure. This is not a good football team, Connor. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not a good football team. And from what I saw, I think it's the right move. I know it's tough as you got listed here. Just break it down for everyone. Not my words, Connor's words. The worst trade in NFL history. The Denver Broncos trading 2 first rounds picks, 2 second round picks, Drew Lock, Noah Fant for Russell Wilson, then proceeding to sign him to a guaranteed a massive deal, and from there he did not even make it to the renewal of his agreement
Right.
because
Well,
the first 2 years. Oh, go ahead.
keep going. You're good. You're good.
I was just gonna say his first 2 years in Denver, he was playing on the old Seattle contract.
Yep.
So this was actually going to be the first year of which he was going to play on the extension that the Denver Broncos gave him. So he did not even make it to that 100 and what is it, 165.
65, I believe.
Wilson will begin from the Denver Broncos for 30 games played, losing record. There was a point in season one when he had more bathrooms in his home than he had touchdown passes.
I do
So
remember the stat. That was a great stat. Whoever dug that up, that was beautiful. And I do believe the $85 million dead cap is the highest to date. I think Matt Ryan was up there in the 50s or 60s somewhere.
you're 100% accurate on that, and the top three to date combined do not equal
Oof,
that of Russell Wilson.
that's tough.
It's going to be rough. Now, our hope is that he does go and says, "Hey, I'm a top dog. I'm going to get a 3-4 year deal guaranteed, locked in, so I
Mhm.
can solidify with a team," which would be great. Everyone's writing this guy off, said he's going to take the league minimum. I would hope, and I would not be shocked if, say, the Vikings, say the Falcons, sign
Yep,
him
Falcons.
to a 4 year deal, 40 million a year, whatever a standard rate is, and then from there, that will subsidize what we have to pay him.
Right. Well,
But
just like you're saying, I think there's plenty of teams. I mean,
they
kind of
need
a
a
bridge
quarterback.
quarterback. I mean, the Commanders I would put in that category,
I
depending
agree.
upon. I mean, the Jets are QB shopping, and who knows with the Aaron Rodgers Achilles how that's going down. I mean,
Correct.
there's homes
Right.
for people.
There's homes for people, but we need to make sure it's more than $1 million
Yeah,
for Russell Wilson.
that's gonna hurt.
Mm.
I was just looking at the schedule here. You guys, some home games. Home schedule's not too bad. I mean, you got the Falcons, Panthers, Colts, Chiefs,
WW
Chargers,
W.
Raiders, Steelers, Browns. I mean, that's not terrible. Your away schedule's a
No.
little dicey. You got the Chiefs, obviously, division opponent, Chargers, Raiders. Then looks like you got what is this, the Bucks, Saints, Seahawks, Jets, Ravens, and Bengals. So home, your home schedule, and with Mile High, I feel like you guys always kind of compete up there. So I feel like you could get some of those out, but feel like we've covered the Broncos and the Russell Wilson situation to a good extent here. Are there any other new NFL news or kind of season wrap-ups as obviously I guess the league starts the new season, you could say starts here in the next 2 weeks. Anything that caught your eye or that you want to touch on?
No, not necessarily. Like you're saying, we're getting into the fun part of the season. Free agency officially, well, legal tampering, as they call it, starts in less than a week now. So that's basically when free agency will begin. So we'll get a lot of answers on what teams rosters look like. From there, the draft to kind of plug in the pieces. I think the big note on that is obviously the salary cap increasing by what it did. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was a $30 to $40 million increase from the previous year, one of the highest in
Hmm.
NFL history. Not surprised. This is kind of the full effect from the previous media rights agreements finally kicking in. So that was big time. That's going to help a lot of teams, and I think we're going to have an interesting offseason with lots of movement. But before we kind of review on that, you want to touch on the combine, what we just saw last weekend?
Yeah, so I think there are a few people that, I think Caleb Williams, a few others that didn't, I guess, participate.
What? Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about not him saying no medicals. First player to ever do that.
Yeah, in one way, it's kind of obviously concerning, right? Because it's like if I was a team and I said, "Hey, Sal, we're possibly going to draft you. What are your thoughts on, us checking out kind of the medicals, your body, how's everything going?" I would think that'd be a little bit concerning because you don't want to get an asset essentially, a player put money into this player and then, oh yeah, they have a hamstring issue that's going to be a problem, and then you lose that. So I'm not sure I guess the upside is kind of what I was trying to think of. The upside is I'm good. I don't need to do a medical. It's a waste of time. Yeah,
Well,
and he's going no agent, which
yep,
for the first pick, first rounders, it's all slotted anyway, so that's not too big of an
right.
issue. And a lot of players are doing that where these draft slots are already slotted. So you don't really need someone to negotiate. I guess the numbers. It's more the language. A lot of players are just doing the lawyer route where it's an hourly
Yep.
rate instead of the percentage. So that the no agent doesn't, I guess, surprise me as much as the no medical, no testing, that thing. You know,
Well, Connor, not all 32 teams can draft him.
that's correct.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's
and I heard he said no dice to Chicago as well. I don't know if that was I don't know
I
where I
didn't
heard
hear
that.
that.
Okay.
But what I also heard, obviously outside of the comment of not all 32 teams can draft me, was that he was going to be doing medicals at the teams that he thought was going to draft him. So from all indications, that means he would do the medical when he went and visited Chicago. But it's interesting the
Very.
way he's doing it. But like you said, I mean, these kids with the NIL, they already got the money. They don't need because what you're talking about in the new generation of kind of how the draft is laid out with the number already slotted in based on when you're selected, and what I mean the number, your salary and kind of your contract is already slated based off
Right.
of the pick you're selected with. So that's already taking care of everything. Basically, what you hire the agent to do is kind of help facilitate the process, the combine process. So
Yep.
kind of a lot of these players will, hey, pay for my training, pay for my housing, pay for all this pre-draft, pre-contract, and then on the back end, I'll pay you back.
Yep.
Well, when you're Caleb Williams and you got an NIL money and you already can cover all that easily, why go into debt, if you will, and have an agent cover all that when you could just pay it up front and then you don't have to pay for it on the back end by having to give an agent a percentage of that second ultimate big contract that you get in the NFL.
Exactly. So I mean that makes sense,
Yeah.
on that front. But the one, I guess the biggest news out of the combine was the receiver from Texas ran a four. Make sure I got this right. 4.21. Xavier
Four two
Worthy ran a
one.
4.21, which is that's moving. I mean, you're getting from point A to point B rather quickly, so that's always impressive. I do think a lot of the combine is kind of just a show. I don't know
Oh yeah.
how much of it's actually applicable. Obviously you got like the broad jump, the three cone kind of makes sense vertical. But I mean, linemen running 40s. I mean, that's the last time they're sprinting for a long while.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
it's impressive. These
it
are big
really
men
is.
flying. I'll tell you, obviously the Texas receiver. I mean, that's moving. That's world class speed. 165 though. That's how much he
That's
weighs.
the weight.
That's the weight. It's concerning. The last person to run a sub 4.22, 4.21,
Mr.
John
Ross.
Ross, did not pan out well in the NFL. So just context people. Some of the people that jumped off the table for me, Penn State Chop Robinson,
Yep. I mean,
defensive end.
I knew you couldn't go show without bringing in a Penn State football player, but keep it
I
going.
mean, let me give a shocker, people. A Penn State player performed at the combine, tested well. That's where the water is different in Happy Valley, and he just made himself a top 15 pick. The receivers, star-studded. I'll tell you one that I mean, I watched him play in person. The dude's a freak. Xavier Legette from South Carolina,
Okay.
6'3". I think he went 4'4", 4'3". I mean, ball, he can catch anything. It's insane. The receivers are loaded. So
Yeah.
I think people are going to be a little shocked, but you would think obviously Marvin Harrison and a couple are going to be top 5 picks, top 10 picks. But like I think they're going to be spread delayed just because there's so many. Why
Mhm.
waste such a high pick on a first rounder when you can get a position that's not as in depth? When you can go receive, you got the pick of the litter. I mean,
Right.
they're loaded. The receiver class is loaded. I think the offensive tackles are phenomenal as well. Another Penn State guy, Notre Dame guy, Georgia guy. They're all over. So I think those would be my top combine standouts. I'm trying to think who else. The North Carolina State linebacker Peyton Wilson. He was moving.
Yeah.
That was big time. How about
Well,
yourself?
I'm
Who
looking
else?
at it, I always like looking at the big dogs taking a run. So
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Braden Fisk from Florida State,
Oh, that
265,
was
hit a 4.7840.
it's yeah.
That's
I
that's fast, dude. I mean,
that's
that's a big dude
what was
getting down the
the
line.
yeah, the Texas D tackle 366 running like a 5.2, 5.1.
I have Byron Murphy. Let's see. I got
I
Byron
thought his name was
Murphy.
Sweat.
He's 297.
I said,
He
no,
ran, he ran a
we
4.87. You
let
think
me
of
pull it
somebody
up
else?
here. Yeah, we got a Texas DTAC.
𝗂𝒂𝒊𝒧𝗧 Sweat,
Yeah, that's my guy.
5.27.
366, 527. 366 pounds moving this quick. I don't even know I can run a 5'2" at that, at my weight. This guy's double me and
Yeah, no,
said, no
it's
problem.
well, and like you're
Whew.
saying, the combine can really, take someone and drive their stock price up, so to speak, in the NFL draft terms. So, that's only going to help him really, because I mean, sideline to sideline speed, especially from a defensive tackle, I mean, it's not as important as linebackers say, but still, that's
Right.
going to help. That's gonna play well.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I guess that's it's kind of all the NFL, I guess, news, so to speak. We talked
Hmm.
about it, but viewership's up, year over year
Yeah.
increase. The salary cap's up, so that's our good news. We got March Madness coming up. I know we have Mr. Coolman. He's actually going to join the show in a few weeks. He's working out there. He's working some Final Four events and things like that. So we won't
Yeah.
dive too much into what that show's going to look like. But he's knee deep over there, and I think I don't know too much about the college basketball space, but I feel like the March Madness it's a really cool event. I guess as you see the
Hmm.
what is it, 64, 68 teams nowadays. I feel like they're always
64.
64.
Back in Phoenix as well,
Yep.
are as viewers are well aware, back in our stomping grounds, it's going to be electric. There's nothing like March Madness. There really isn't.
Well, and is the Final Four is there, and then is the championship there, or is it in Dallas?
Correct. Nope, nope, should be there.
Okay, gotcha,
They'll play the
gotcha.
final four games, usually Friday or Saturday. Then the
Mhm.
national championship will be played the following Monday.
Got it, got it. And it is interesting because they kind of have to do like these biddings, so to speak, and kind of present your package
Oh, of
forward
course.
to, the committees, and they vote on it and I guess Phoenix is just it's one of the better cities, sports cities. I mean, we had the Super Bowl there last year, got the waste management, got a lot of things going on there. So that's I don't have too much basketball insight there, but I do think that's going to be pretty cool. But staying in the
Yeah,
college space, I do think
yeah,
there's been a lot of talk about these super leagues, so to speak, specifically for a football and basketball.
right.
I've heard a few different approaches where you kind of do, you let the top 48 teams in, eight divisions, six teams, eight divisions, something like that, kind of like an NFC, AFC type of thing. Basically,
Wow.
just build essentially a miniature version of the NFL. What are your thoughts on the maybe a super league in college football? You think teams are going to break off? What are your thoughts?
Wow. I don't, it's wild to me, but like we've discussed with IL and everything, how it's gone proceeded with the
Hmm.
teams, switching conferences, conference limit. It's going to be interesting, and I think there's a lot of theories out there. I will say what's telling of note is the SEC and Big Ten
Yep.
having that merger, not merger, excuse me. Let me phrase it properly. That kind of handshake agreement. They're going to
Hmm.
work together on things. Shows you that this is a potential. I think it's clear the NCAA is in trouble,
Yep.
and regarding college football, if there isn't clear guidance and clarity on the NIL piece, as well as kind of the structure of how it's going to go, there may be a breakaway and kind of what you're alluding to with the Super League between kind of the Big Ten being the NFC or AFC and vice versa with the SEC. We could really see that happening, which in my opinion is a little unfortunate. I do love college football for the heart of which it is played, and I do appreciate some of the matchups, kind of the financials of it with some of these other schools, kind of lower schools being able to play a bigger school and getting some finance from it. I
Right.
think collegiate athletics and the space of college is going to be completely different within the next 5 to 10 years.
Hmm.
And I hope it's for the better, but I am nervous about the state of college sports.
Right. Well, and that kind of goes full circle to how we started the show with maybe one of the pro leagues, right? That was the question, having the biggest, disruption in its league. But I think obviously college is going to see by far the biggest disruption, whether it's the two leagues, whether, what sports, kind of get back into which categories and regions. And I'm more of the belief that I like the regional aspect of things.
Yes.
Especially with the Pac-12 folding, if you will, with,
Yeah.
you got your women's softball team, your baseball team. I mean, they're over playing Rutgers, and these sports it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's just how these are structured every week. It's not like a football game, fly out, fly back. I mean,
Right.
you got to go across the country. So I don't think that's sustainable at all. I mean, a lot of these sports and athletic departments are already bleeding money. That's only going to make it worse. So I like the regional thing. I think you could get enough competitive teams in each region to make kind of a super league, if that's one of the ways they're going to go about it possible. And if you think about it, if you let in 48 teams, I feel like that's enough. I mean, you're not
Oh
going to be a
yeah.
top 50 team, you know, regularly competing for a spot. So I think you could get pretty much where you need to be. I do like the relegation concept. I don't know, how practical that is, but I do like that aspect of, say like a Vanderbilt, no hate, but like if you haven't been good in forever, just because you're in the SEC doesn't mean you're automatically in. I like the concept of proving yourselves, like the European soccer model rather.
I do as
I think there's
well.
something to
I
that.
do as well. Yeah, I do as well. Because then you weed out some of the how do I phrase it? I don't want to say junk or something like that, but just it keeps the competitive juices and fire there.
It
It makes
does.
sure it keeps the intentions in the proper place and it keeps things exciting.
Yep.
And there have been talks about the NFL kind of doing that with the XFL or
XFL, UFL.
USFL. Yeah, whatever they do, using that same model. Because there's always been talks about people tanking or trying to
Yep.
lose games. So if you want to do that, well then you're going to be relegated.
hmm
This is top of the top compete, and that's all people want to see. The
Well,
highest level of competitors competing at the highest level of sport.
Well, and I have seen some reports, might be not the right word, but some people talking where you have the NFL, you have the X or the UFL, what they call it, you have college football. Essentially, you almost kind of already have these tiers forming, especially if college kind of separates and makes their own super league, the employment status of them, all that. We'll keep that out of here for now, but there is kind of already a number of leagues that are being formed, you could say, for this type of relegation to happen. Not saying it could happen or will happen, but the thought and concept, I mean, it is somewhat plausible in that it could 10, 15, 20 years, you never know. So it's something to think
Right.
about.
Agreed.
And then I guess, so I don't know if we're just kind of wrapping up here. I don't know if you want to close the show out with anything, leave our viewers with any final thoughts as we enjoy the rest of the week here.
No, I really don't got nothing. Again, always appreciate taking some time with you, Connor. You having me on the show, discussing some of the big hitters in the sports industry, and just chopping it up with you. It's always great and a privilege to be on the show.
Yeah, of course, we always, I feel like we always have good convos, talk sports. It's always a good time. Thanks, listeners and viewers, for joining. So this is going to conclude another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. Obviously, a special shout out to Mr. 𝗏𝒂𝒃𝒊𝒂 joining us today. You can find this podcast where you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple. Post this video form on YouTube. We have a newsletter that runs, kind of just talks about different sports industry, hot trends and topics, and job openings in there. And when we frame these job openings, job applications are specifically from the people that we've had on the show. So you kind of have a vested interest in the person, in the company. So for example, if TPG was hiring, not that they are, but if they were, Sal works there, so you could kind of have a one connection point to the company. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. And then we have different grad school programs, kind of have a comprehensive list of different grad school programs throughout the country from coast to coast, north to south. So feel free to check that out. It's on our website and the links and things like that. And Sal, well, I enjoyed the time today. Thanks again for stopping by, and we'll stay in touch, my man.
Hey, appreciate it. You take care.
Yep, we'll talk soon.